something began to shrug the stone and lava aside. A long shape shook itself, stretched itself, swelled and shrank and swelled again. A shape clothed in lava and black-violet fire, burning terribly. Nita watched in horrified fascination. What is it? Nita wondered. Some kind of buried pipeline? But no man-made pipeline was 100 feet across, and no pipeline would seem to breathe or move by itself or rear up, serpent-like, out of the disintegrating seabed with the dreadful energy of something unbound at last. That shape was rising now, letting go its grasp on part of that long, burning body that stretched away as far as the eye could see from east to west. A neck, Nita thought, as the shape reared up, taller, towering over the sea bottom. A neck and a head, a huge snake's head, fringed, fanged, long and sleek, with dark burning lava for a hide, and eyes the sick black violet of water bursting into flame. In the guise it had first worn after betraying the whales, and wore now again in gloating token of another victory, the power, the many-named darkness that men had sometimes called the old serpent, towered over the seabed as the binding that had held it shattered. This, Nita realized, was the terrible truth concealed under the old myths of the serpent that lay coiled about the foundations of the world, waiting for the day it would crush the world in those coils. And now its moment was at hand. But it was stretching it, savoring it. It looked at Nita, drifting not 200 feet from its immense stony jaws. Looked at her out of eyes burning with a color that would sear its way into the nightmares of anyone surviving to remember it. And those eyes knew her. She was frightened, but she had something to do yet. I know my verse now without having to get it from the sea, she thought, so maybe I won't need wizardry to pull this off. And maybe just doing the sacrifice will have its own power. Let's find out. Nita backfinned through the thundering water, staying out of reach of those jaws, watching for any sudden movement. She drew what she suspected was a last breath. The protective spell around her was fading fast, and lifted her voice into the roaring darkness. Ed, she thought, don't blow it now. Must I accept the barren gift, learn death, and lose my mastery? Then let them know whose blood and breath will take the gift and set them free. The gloating eyes were fixed on her, letting her sing, letting Nita make the attempt. But the lone power wasn't going to let her get away with it. That huge, hideous head was bending closer to her. Nita backfinned, not too obviously, she hoped, kept her distance, kept on singing. Not old enough to love as yet, but old enough to die, indeed. The death fear bites my throat and heart, fanged cousin to the pale one's breed. And with a low, thick rumble of amusement and hunger, the serpent's head thrust at Nita in a strike that she couldn't prevent. This is it. The sudden small shock in the water made her heart pound. She glanced downward as she sang. There was Kit, battered and struggling with the failing whale sark as if it were actually someone else's body, but ramming the serpent head-on, near where the neck towered up above the slowly squeezing coils. Their pressure was breaking the seabed in great pieces, so that lava and superheated water gushed up in 100 places. But Kit ignored the heat and rammed the old serpent again and again. He's trying to distract it, Nita thought in a terrible uprush of anguish and admiration. He's buying me time. Oh, Kit! The gift was too precious to waste. But past the fear lies life for them, she sang, perhaps for me, and past my dread, past loss of mastery and life, the sea shall yet give up her dead. Annoyed, as a human might be by a gnat, the serpent bent its head away from Nita to see what was troubling it. Humor and hunger glinted in its eyes as it recognized in Kit the other wizard who had once given it so much trouble in Manhattan. It bent its head to him, but slowly, wanting him to savor the terror. Now, Nita thought, and began to sing again. Lone power— No! Cried another voice through the water, and something came hurtling at her and punched Nita to one side. It was Arenya, wounded and crazy from the looks of her. I don't have time for this, Nita thought, and for the first time in her life rummaged around in her mind for a spell that would kill. Someone else came streaking in to ram. Arenya went flying. There was blood in the water. Ed's, pumping more and more weakly from the gash in his side, but his eyes were as cool as ever. Ed, Nita said, breaking off her singing, thank you. He stared at her as he arrowed toward her, the old, indecipherable look. Sprat, he said, when did I ever leave distress uncured? And to her complete amazement, before Nita could move, he rammed her again, close to the head, leaving her too stunned to sing, tumbling and helpless in pain. Through the ache, she heard Ed lift his voice in song, Nita's song, the lines that, with the offered sacrifice, bind death anew and put the lone power in its place. Kit just went on pummeling at the great shape that bent closer and closer to them all, and Nita struggled and writhed and couldn't make a sound. No, she thought, but it was no use. Ed was taking her part willingly, circling in on the lone power. Yet even through Nita's horror, some wonder intruded. Where did he get such a voice, she thought. It seemed to fill the whole sea. Lone power, I accept your gift, but take my gift of equal worth. I take death with me out of time and make of it a path, a birth. Let the teeth come. As they tear me, they tear your ancient hate for I. So rage, proud power, fail again, and see my blood teach death to die. And the master shark dived straight at the upraised neck of the serpent and bit it. He made no cry as its burning hide blasted his teeth away and seared his mouth instantly black. He made no cry as the lone power, enraged at its wounding, bent down to pluck the annoying little creature from its neck and crush it in stony jaws. And then the sharks came. Calling for help, Ed had said. Now Nita remembered what he had said to her so long ago, on the only way he had to call his people together. With blood. His own. Her wizardry, though, had lent the call power that even Ed's own mastery could never have achieved, just as it had lent him a whale wizard's power of song. And brought impossible distances by its power, the Master Shark's people came. By dozens, by hundreds, by thousands and tens of thousands. Maddened by the blood in the water, they fell on everything that had a wound and tore it to shreds. Nita found that she could swim again, and she did, fast, away from there, where all the sharks of the world, it seemed, jostled and boiled in feeding frenzy. Arenya vanished in a cloud of sleek silver bodies. Ed could not be seen. And the serpent— A scream of astonishment and pain crashed through the water. The lone power, like all the other powers, had to obey the rules when within a universe, and wear a body that could be acted upon. The sharks, wild with their master's blood and beyond feeling pain, were acting upon it. The taste of its scalding blood in the water, and their own, drove them mad for more. They found more. The screaming went on, and on, and on, all up and down the length of the thrashing, writhing serpent. Nita, deafened, writhing herself, felt as if it would go on forever. Eventually, forever ended. The sharks, great and small, began milling slowly about, cruising for new game, finding none. They began to disperse. Of the master shark, of Arenye, there was no sign, only a roiling cloud of red that every now and then snowed little rags of flesh. Of the lone power, nothing remained but sluggishly flowing lava running over a quieting seabed, and in the water the hot, sulphurous taste, much diluted, of its flaming blood. The writhing shape, now defined on the bottom by cooling pillow lava, made it plain that the unbound was bound once more by the blood of a willing victim, a wizard, no matter that the wizardry was borrowed. Aching all over, impossibly tired, Nita hung there for several minutes, simply not knowing what to do. She hadn't planned to live this long. Now, though, "Kit?" Her cry brought her back the echo of a sperm whale, heading for the surface as quickly as was safe. She followed him. Nita passed through the twilight zone at 300 fathoms and saw light, the faint green gold she had never hoped to see again. When she broke surface and drew several long, gasping breaths, she found that it was morning. Monday morning, she guessed, or hoped. It didn't much matter. She had sunlight again. She had air to breathe. And floating half a mile away in the wave wash, looking too tired to move a fin, the massive back of a sperm whale bobbed and rocked. She went to him. Neither of them did anything for a long time but lie there in the water, side by side, skin just touching, and breathe. "I got carried away down there," Kit said eventually, "and the whale shark started to go out on me. I would have gone all sperm whale, and then the shark would have blown out all the way." "I noticed," Nita said. "And you pulled me out of it. I think I owe you one." "After all that," Nita said, "I'm not sure who owes what. Maybe we'd better call it even." "Yeah, but Neats—" "Don't mention it," she said. "Someone has to keep you out of trouble." He blew explosively, right in her face. One by one, finding one another by song, the other celebrants began to gather around them. Neither Kit nor Nita had any words for them until, last of the group, Cerie surfaced and blew in utter weariness. She looked at Nita. "Arenye?" "Gone," Kit said. "And the master shark?" "The sacrifice," Nita said, "was accepted." There was silence as the celebrants looked at each other. "Well," Cerie said, "the sea has definitely never seen a song quite like this." "It will be a song well sung," said a cool voice in Nita's head, "and sung from the heart. You, young and never loving. I, old and never loved." "But the lone one is bound, and the waters are quieting." "Cerie," Fang said, "don't we still need to finish the song?" "It's done," Kit said. Cerie looked at him in silence a moment. "Yes," she said then. "It is." "And I want to go home," Kit said. "Well enough," said Cerie. "Kit, we'll be in these waters resting for at least a couple of days. You know where to find us." She paused, hunting words. "And look